In this video, I'm going to show you how to do Learning Objective 3A, which is Simplify More Advanced Imaginary Numbers. All you really need to know from this is, recall from the previous lesson, is that I squared equals -1. Our strategy here is to see how many I squareds there are in a problem and to replace them each with the number -1. So, for example, I to the fourth. If I write that out longhand, that's 4 i's. Well, this is 1 I squared and that's 1 I squared. So that's I squared and I squared. So what I can do is have two different I squared. So I'm going to replace each one with the number -1. That's the first one. Here's the second. When you simplify, you're going to get -1 times -1, which is +1. Now that one's not too hard because it was easy to pull apart 4 i's and realize there were two groups of 2. When you get to something like number 2, it's I 21 times. And I'm just going to show you this. I'm going to take some time to write it out. This means 21 i's. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. If we see how many groups there are, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 groups of I squareds. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to write I squared, and I'm going to say it happens 10 times. If I wanted to, I could write I squared out 10 times. That would be fine, because that's what this means. But don't forget here, there's one I left over. So I'm going to put that little I there. Now I squared is the number -1, so I put that there. I'm going to do it 10 times. And then don't forget we have this I floating out here. If on your calculator you do -1 times itself 10 times, or you type -1 in parentheses, caret 10, you're going to get the number 1 back. So -1 to the 10th power is the number 1. Don't forget we have an I sitting out there. 1 times I, we're going to say, is just I. So for these types of problems, you're going to get one of 4 answers. It's going to be either one of these options. You'll either get I, -I, 1, or -1. Anything else other than that would be wrong for certain. Let's look at 2 more. I'm actually going to go to number 4 first, I to the 6th power. And let's just go back to make it really basic. That means 6 i's. And if you group it, there's one, there's another, there's another. So I see that there are 3 I squareds. Each I squared is a -1. -1 times -1 times -1 is -1. All the i's are grouped together. There's none left over. Therefore, the answer is -1. Now, I will tell you again, if the exponent is an even number exponent, all of your i's will be grouped up and your answer will either become 1 or -1. If it's odd, then you will get either I or -I. Now, for number 3, I don't want to write out 76 i's, so I'm going to show you a shortcut. Take 76 and divide it by 2. If you do that in your calculator, you're going to get that there's 38. So there's 38 groups of 2. So what you can do is rewrite this as I squared 38 times. 38 times 2 is 76. That makes all of them up. Now just replace I squared with -1 and multiply it by itself 38 times. Again, on the calculator, you would do -1, put it in parentheses. The caret key of 38 will kick back with the number 1. Now I do want to show you one more. So we have on here both of our answers are 1 or -1. What would it look like again if we got the answer to become an I or -I? So let's do a second or a third example on this slide. Let's look at how about I to the 11th power. If I use this trick to figure out how many there are like I did up here, what I would do is to say, okay, 11 divided by 2 goes in there 5.5 times, which means I get 5 pairs of I squareds. So I'm actually going to do this as a shortcut. I'm going to do I squared 5 times. If you do I squared 5 times, you're going to have 10 i's. So don't forget, you're going to have a leftover. Okay. If you're having a hard time seeing this, just do I to the 11th power like you would do this one. Write it out longhand and find your groups. Now I'm going to finish. I squared here is -1 to the 5th power. Don't forget this I is sitting out here. Now -1 to the 5th power is -1 times -1 times -1 times -1 times -1, which is -1. And then when you times it by the remaining I, you will get your final answer of -I.